Hello everybody, welcome. Happy Tuesday. Y'all, we've made it another 7 days in this crazy world. How was your week? You had a good week? You doing all right? You holding on? Good, I am doing well. I had an amazing week as well. I'm actually visiting my mom right now. So I'm having a really great Tuesday altogether. So I want to welcome everyone back to my channel. Happy Sip and Tip Tuesday, guys. If you could, go ahead and like, subscribe, share, comment on this video, and on all the rest of them if you want to. But thank you guys again for watching. Let's get right into it. So, our sip of the week this week is in honor and homage of my mom. It's her favorite water-ish drink. So she doesn't like just regular H2O. It has no flavor, and to her it's just boring. So she actually introduced me to this drink, and I'm gonna feature it. So this week I'm not concocting, this week I'm not creating, I'm featuring, okay? Sparkling ice. Can you see that? Okay, sparkling ice is a brand of water that has zero sugar, zero carbs, zero fat, zero sodium, zero everything, but all the taste in the world, antioxidants, vitamins, just 5 calories, and it comes in every single flavor, y'all. It's amazing. So I have that today. This is my sip of the week. You can get it at your local grocery store. I think everyone carries it. They're super cheap, but this is my mom's alternative to water. So if you're like her and you don't necessarily like just plain old H2O, and you want a little flavor, a little razzle dazzle, go ahead and get you sparkling ice, okay? Cheers to that. Cheers, everyone, cheers, okay. Amazing. So let's get into our tip of the week, okay? The category this week is flaws. Now, one of my favorite songs by Beyonce, I had to do it. It's flaws and all. Catch me when I fall. Accept me, flaws and all. Yes, okay? Flaws. We all have them. We're all working on them, I hope. But if not, by the end of this video, we should be ready to address, work on, and hopefully improve the things that we call flaws. Now let's get into it. What are our flaws? It is a wide scale, right? It's opinion-based because we may consider it a flaw, others may consider it a beautiful attribute of ours, but our flaws can be anything from the way that we look to the way that we act, okay? Something is as materialistic as our aesthetics, how we present ourselves. You have eyebrows, maybe your nostril is bigger than the other nostril, or maybe your toes a little crooked, okay? Or it could be something as serious as a character flaw. You know, maybe your virtues are all a little screwed up. Maybe you've had some trauma, some experiences in the past that you haven't yet gotten over, and they show themselves in how you interact with people. Or maybe you just have some bad habits that you just have not been able to kick, and you realize, okay, this is a flaw. It is toxic. It is not good for healthy relationships, and nor is it even good for my own personal relationship with myself. So that's what we're going to tackle today. Something super important to note about flaws. Flaws are fine when there are things that we cannot change. But to be satisfied with just saying, that's just who I am, that's just the way I am, I mean, that's just what you got to deal with. That's the way I am. That's the way I've always been. Those are the types of things that are detrimental to your self-growth, okay? Flaws are the things that we literally cannot change about ourselves. Your bone structure, the way you were shaped and built and created. But your attitude, that's something that can change. Your way of thinking, that's something that can change. Even down to your body size, if you want to see yourself healthier, or you want to put a little few pounds on, those are things you can change. But let's not get complacent in saying that this is just who I am and being okay with that. Never be satisfied with mediocrity. Please don't ever be satisfied with mediocrity, okay? And I just want to preface all of that when we decide to talk about our flaws and doing better by ourselves and improving. Let's not get stuck on the things that we know we can't change, but if you know that your attitude is a little foul or negative, or you tend to be pessimistic, or you tend to be apathetic and you lack compassion, those are the types of things that I'm talking about. Those are the things that we can level up on, we can evolve, we can grow, and we can address, okay? So keep that in mind when we discuss flaws. Tip number one, we're gonna get right into it. Tip number one on how to appropriately and properly address your flaws is, what do we have to do first? Identify them. That's right. You have to look yourself in the mirror. Everything comes back to looking at yourself in the mirror. Identify what it is that isn't working. If you take stock of your life, there are many things that work, but you can also look at the life that you live and say, there may not be some things that are working as well for me. Those may be your flaws. It could be your work ethic. It could be the fact that you're a procrastinator. It could be the fact that you don't honor time. You don't honor or manage your time wisely. It could be that you're not a great communicator, that you don't listen. Maybe you don't speak up. Maybe you are passive, and maybe you're a conflict avoider. Hell, maybe you like conflict and you start things. So whatever your flaw may be, this tip is all about just identifying it, okay? However that may be, some of us may not be able to identify our flaws ourselves. We're not there yet, or maybe we just can't see it. This may require the help of someone you love and trust. So there's hopefully someone in your corner that you really rely on, that you love enough and trust enough to say, hey, what are some of the things that you notice about me that I could put some work into? And hopefully they'll be honest and gracious with you, and not use it as a punching bag situation, but that they'll be able to give you honest, truthful, but meaningful input. So tip number one, however you decide to do it for yourself, whatever makes you feel comfortable enough, but you need to identify your flaws, okay? And these are the most blatant, the most toxic flaws. I don't want this list to become all the things you hate about yourself, because that's not what we want to do, and that is counterproductive. But this identifying your flaws tip is pretty much centered on your most blatant and your most toxic. What are the things that are absolutely just not working? What are the things that you do not want to bring into the next elevation of your life, right? As we evolve and as we grow, what is just not going to work in this next place, in this next season, in this next arena, okay? That's tip number one. Tip number two is, after you've identified your flaws, you want to prioritize. So you have a list of your most blatant and your most toxic. Hopefully that list is not a long grocery list, but if it is, prioritize. Look at your life, take stock of what you're doing, who you are, where you're going, what you're about right now, and what absolutely needs to change today. It could be forgiveness. It could be self-esteem. Whatever it is, prioritize that list. For me, I learned last year that I wasn't a great listener. I wasn't an active listener. I would listen to respond. I wasn't listening to comprehend. So I would let you get your piece out, but I already had my rebuttal in mind. And my rebuttal may or may not have anything to do with what you just said, because I wanted to get my piece out before I forgot it. And that's not good. So my flaw was, okay, you know what, going into this next season of my life, in my friendships, my relationships, my family ships, my number one priority is I need to be a better listener. I need to understand people. And the only way to do that is to see what they're saying. And the only way you can do that is listen to them. So shut up and listen, all right? So that was my prioritizing of my flaws. So you can do that same thing. What is urgent in your life right now? Prioritize it. Tip number two. Tip number three. This one is more of an action step. So you've identified, you've prioritized. Now you're going to go ahead and devise a strategy on how to address the flaws that you have chosen to address, okay? And when you devise the strategy, make sure that you are putting together a plan that is going to combat and going to counteract those negative behaviors. Not just, okay, let me do this because this makes me feel good. No, is this combating and counteracting? So using the example I just used, being a poor listener, the plan I put in place was, when I have a rebuttal, because I usually do, I'm very opinionated, but when I have an opinion and someone else is sharing, they have the floor, what I need to do is, okay, consciously tell myself in my mind, remember this, but listen. So stop trying to get together your argument. Literally, I told myself in my mind, all right, shut up. And listen. Sometimes it even was being honest, depending on who I was interacting with. I was able to say, hold on, hold that thought really quick. I would type out my little thought on my phone and I would put it down. That way my mind was free and I could listen to them for all they had to say. And if my point when I picked up my phone was still relevant and it was still pertinent to the conversation, then I would say it. But only after I've absorbed and listened to what they had to say. That was my plan. That was my devising a strategy to how to be a better listener. Yours may be different. So whatever your flaw is that you chose, whatever that toxic trait that you're trying to address, make sure that plan, that strategy is going to combat and counteract. Counteract meaning literally do the adverse. Do a full 180 because we're not coming back 360, 180. Make sure that it changes the outcome, that it at least will work on a better outcome than what you've been doing. So that's tip number 3. Let's get into our last 2 tips because they're congruent, so they kind of go together. So I'm going to put tip 4 and 5 together. It's apply those tips to your strategies and your flaws. So apply these practices every single day as often as you can so that they become a habit. As often as you are in those situations, remind yourself, okay, this is my test. Let me go ahead and put in my strategy and see if it works, see if it yields me a different response. And number 5 is reward yourself for good behavior. There's nothing like positive reinforcement. We know negative reinforcement works, but so does positive. And we have to be good to ourselves. So as you find yourself saying, you know what, I tried something, I took a different route. Let me reward myself. It could be, my favorite one, your favorite dessert. You have earned yourself some bread pudding and ice cream. Or, let me go take myself out to a movie. Well, not in COVID. Let me order a movie on Netflix. Maybe this one isn't free. Or whatever, but just reward yourself for the good behavior after you have applied those new practices habitually. It takes a little while to recorrect something that you've been doing for so long. So you have to give yourself credit. You're doing all right. You're doing the best that you can. And as long as you continue to strive to do the best that you can, there's no fault in that. There's no time limit on fixing your flaws. But as long as you are progressively taking baby steps, adult steps, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, you're still taking steps. And that's what's important, okay? I want to say this as we close. Flaws are not the opposite of perfection. Being perfect is not the goal here. We don't want to be the perfect person. 1, that's boring. 2, it's impossible. Here's why. We're constantly evolving. We're constantly growing. Life around us is constantly changing, and we have to adjust to the changing of our circumstances, our environments, and the people around us. So as you continue to grow and evolve, that's where the flaws and the improvement and the self-development comes in. I think it's absolutely beautiful, the sentiment of someone loving you in spite of your flaws, right? The Beyonce song that I sang earlier, accept me flaws and all, and that is why I love you. That's beautiful. And I don't want to deter from that sentiment that you need to be perfect in order to be your best self. You don't. Finding friends, lovers, family members who will love you in spite of and meet you right where you are, that's beautiful, and that's something we all want. But that doesn't mean that you have to stop being better, that you don't have to stop moving forward and working towards being your better self. Just because they loved you right where you were doesn't mean that's where you need to stay, okay? I want us to all look at our flaws, identify them, prioritize the ones that are causing you the most trouble, devise a strategy on how to combat and counteract those flaws, and finally apply them as often as you can and reward yourself when you do good. Trust me, it will work, okay? Thank you guys for tuning in. I know this has been a longer video than usual, but I had to get it all out. Thanks for watching. Have an amazing week. I can't wait to see y'all next week.